Welcome back, everyone. As usual, we are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's my partner in crime, Lewis.
Hello.
Thank you for not trying to change it up. I appreciate that. Hey, we took a week off. I don't remember what happened in the week, so I was going to do a recap, see if there was anything 80s related that either of us did, and I don't think so. But I will say, if you live near an Alamo Draft House, this weekend is special because while Philadelphia has WrestleMania, the Alamo Draft House has WrestleMania. And yes, they're playing the classic Kurt Russell movies. And me and my buddy Darren went today and we saw the 1980s classic. And yes, it is a classic. I know you don't care for it, but you're wrong. Used Cars. Such a great movie. Laughed my butt off for it. And then tomorrow, my wife and I are going to go see Tom Kiefer of Cinderella fame and LA Guns, who I have
Oh,
no desire to see. And I'm trying to figure out how I can go and set it up so I can go late and probably miss their entire set.
yeah, maybe they'll surprise you, man.
They might. I highly doubt it, but I never could get into their music. Even I think they had that one hit song, Ballad of Jane or whatever. Just no, they don't do anything for me. Um, Anything 80s related for you coming up?
No, no, I missed YNT. They played here about a week ago, and I saw clips of folks that I knew um, that they recorded from the show, and sounds amazing. Just I was just blown away as to how good that Meniketti still sounds.
Well, yeah, I saw them a few years back, and I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed them more than what I saw them in their heyday because I saw them. They were headlining a show at the San Francisco Civic with Lita Ford and Twisted Sister as the openers, and I was not impressed. Um, but yeah, I saw them a few years back at the Canyon Club when we still had one out here in Santa Clarita, and they were amazing. But anyway, enough about that. We're back. Good to see you, and good to see everybody there um, from my one bedroom apartment and your one bedroom apartment. Um, so, Lou, were you a dancing guy in the 80s? I know the answer, but for those that don't know,
In the 80s, was I a dance? I guess I think I was. I think I was. I've
or
been sort of a dancing fool for forever. So yeah.
definitely the latter part of that is accurate. Now, I remember you, as we said back in the day, actually, probably my parents' day, cutting a rug back in the busting a move. How about that? Let's
There
get
you go.
more 80s.
That's
Jesus.
appropriate.
Cutting a rug. Yeah, busting a move back in the 80s. So we thought we'd tackle something that we haven't really discussed too much about. And we were going to discuss our favorite 80s dance scenes. So we didn't really, as usual, we don't really discuss this, who's going to say what, blah, come up with a topic. Sometimes we have parameters, usually we don't. We run with it. So it's going to be real interesting to see how you interpreted favorite 80s dance scenes. I know how I interpreted it. But why don't you go ahead and lead us off with one of your favorite 80s? I don't even know what I'm doing. What is this?
The
Here,
cha-cha.
lead off. Yeah, I get the shoulder thing going, you know?
You and then me.
Yeah. I was trying to do some sort of dance to lead us in it, but I'm sitting down and I can't dance and I have no moves. So I don't know what I was attempting, but why don't you lead us off with one of your favorite dance scenes from the 80s?
Okay, yeah, so it will be interesting to see how we interpreted dance scene. So for me, this is the absolute most iconic dance scene ever, right? It has been duplicated, I've seen by Japanese prisoners, I've seen by Lego figures. It's been duplicated in movies such as 13 Going on 30. And of course, I'm talking about Michael Jackson's Thriller. And it's just amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. I remember like the night before it was coming out, I didn't have cable, but my friends did, and everybody was excited. It's like, oh wow, it's gonna they're going to show this and then have like the biggest budget ever for a video at the time. And yeah, it was a short movie and it met all the hype. It was amazing. And again, it stood the test of time.
So yeah, can you do the any of the dance moves? That's good. I was like trying to think what how they did it. All of a sudden, I was dancing like an Egyptian. Um, yeah, that was actually one of the ones on my list. It wasn't that big of a list, to be honest. So thank you, a-hole.
Sorry.
Um, Michael Peters choreographed that. I know nothing about him, other than the fact that he also choreographed "Beat It." So
Oh,
he was kind of the go-to guy for MJ back in those days. It's funny because, like you said, there was so much hype surrounding it, and I was reading up on it because I wanted to see what if there was some tidbits I'd find out. And I guess after filming it, right, with that huge budget and everything else, they tried to offset it by doing the behind the scenes documentary and everything else because it was just such a huge budget. Michael Jackson shortly thereafter became a Jehovah's Witness. And he told somebody in his camp, I want you to destroy it. I don't want it coming out because I don't want people to think that I have anything to do with the occult. And you can imagine the panic that must have happened around that. Like they had spent all this money, and now Michael Jackson is trying to, destroy this, like you said, iconic video they had spent all this money on. So luckily, cooler heads prevailed. The people from his camp actually went ahead and put it in a safe and convinced him to still release it. And I don't know if you remember, but there's a blurb like right in the beginning that it says, this doesn't have anything to do with Michael Jackson's beliefs and he has no affiliation with the occult, that kind of stuff. Which is like, okay, don't think that the guy that plays Jason in Friday the 13th is going out and killing people on weekends. We can separate the two, but yeah. And I remember like you said, there was so much hype around it, and I watched it, and I didn't care for Michael Jackson. I didn't really like his music. I grew to like it as I got older. But even then, I remember just being blown away by the spectacle of it, and it was really good. Like you said, it was a mini movie that was a music video with a great dance choreography. Many I talked about this on an earlier episode. Probably nobody saw it, but I think in the early, like in 2000, 2001, I was at Universal City Walk and I was shopping at one of the stores in City Walk. And an employee came up to me and says, "Hey, sir, you need to leave the store now." I'm like, "Why is that?" He goes, "Because Michael Jackson's here and he wants to shop undisturbed." I'm like, "Well, I won't bother him. I don't care." And he still kicked me out. So always had a little
wow.
bit of a negative connotation of Michael Jackson because of that. But anyway, um, I'm gonna go with you mentioned iconic, and I think this one might be just as iconic as what you mentioned. And I'm talking about the movie Dirty Dancing. And obviously, it's the scene I'm referring to is the big scene at the end, the iconic scene where they're playing "I've Had the Time of My Life." Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey are dancing, and the incredible thing about that is they didn't use any doubles. That's all them. So
Wow.
real credit to them. And then it was interesting because I guess they did not like each other at all.
Wow.
I forgot about it. They worked together on Red Dawn before Dirty Dancing. So I guess that Patrick Swayze had to convince Jennifer Grey to be in Dirty Dancing. And they were getting along well. And then apparently something happened and they weren't getting along. And I guess the producers kind of showed them like their audition tape of them together. And it kind of made them go, okay, you know what, we got to get back to that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Um, Kenny Ortega actually went ahead and choreographed that. And he went on to do a lot of different movies. I guess he's mostly known for the High School Musical movies, which I'm sure you're a big fan of. Um, and this also was immortalized in the movie Crazy Stupid Love. There's a very an amazing scene with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, where Ryan Gosling portrays this person who's always getting women, and Emma Stone's drunk. She's like, "Give me your big move. What's your big move?" And he's like, "You know the lift in Dirty Dancing? I can do that lift." Or he mentions Dirty Dancing, and she's like, "What? Do we watch it?" Like, and he says, "No, I can do the lift." She goes, "Huh?" He goes, "I put on the song. I've had the time of my life. You know, I tell women I do the lift. They inevitably want me to do the lift. I do the lift, and we end up having sex." So, don't know if that would really work in real life. You don't look like Ryan Gosling, but it's something to think about if you're single and you have some ability to lift a woman up, similar to Dirty Dancing. It might work for you. A little interesting tidbit. I don't want to go too crazy on it, but one of the people that auditioned to play Baby was none other than Sharon Stone.
Wow.
Yeah, so thought about that. And I didn't have time to go back and watch it. Patrick Swayze and Cynthia Rhodes, who plays Penny, his friend in the movie, the one that ultimately gets pregnant, both appeared in Rosanna's the video from Toto.
Wow. That's
But
interesting. Wonder why.
I thought so. I have no idea. Probably they went to an audition. But yeah, there's something about that music. I've had the time of my life. I think it's a great song. It's one of the better songs or one of the best songs from a movie. And that whole iconic lift scene. I think anybody, even if they haven't seen Dirty Dancing, you mention Dirty Dancing, and that scene comes to their heads that somehow they've seen it. So that's one of my favorite dance scenes.
Definitely a good call. It's absolutely huge, right? That's a super, super memorable scene. And even when they were practicing it in the lake or whatever, and finally at the grand finale of the movie, they pull it off. And yeah, it was very, very good pick. Huge, huge scene.
One other interesting tidbit, that works.
Yeah.
Um, Jennifer Grey originally had a topless scene in the movie, and I guess they even showed it to test audiences, and they didn't like it. I don't know why they didn't like it, but maybe they felt it wasn't appropriate for that kind of movie, and so they removed that scene, and apparently that footage got destroyed.
Wow.
So there you go. Originally, you would have seen Jennifer Grey's boobs.
What could have been?
What could have been?
All right. Well, the next one that I'm going to pick out was actually a movie, and it was released February 15th in 1985. And interestingly enough, it was supposed to only be Molly Ringwald doing a solo dance in the Breakfast Club. But apparently, she didn't feel that she was a good enough dancer and she felt self-conscious. And then John Hughes last minute said, "All right, well, everybody's going to go ahead and dance." And you've got the iconic dance scene where they got stoned and started, dancing in the library. One of my favorite parts of the movie. I love that movie. So yeah, that's my next pick.
Good call. God, what was the song that they're dancing to? Do you remember?
I had to look it up because it was not one that I remember recognizing, and I still don't recognize it. "We Are Not Alone" by Carla DeVito.
Okay. Yeah, I just remembered how they all kind of had their dances and they all, then they had the synchronized, Yeah, that's a good call. I like it. Luckily it didn't make my list because my list I had to try to do few different things and you had to go with the kill me with the whole thriller thing. Thanks, Lou.
You're welcome.
Um I'm gonna go with this is kind of an iconic one as well. And I guess I'm inspired by the fact that I recently saw the stage adaptation of this movie, and I'm talking about 1984's Footloose. And I'm not talking about the dance at the end where they're dancing to the song Footloose at the prom. I'm actually talking about the scene that really struck for me was when Ren McCormack teaches Willard Hewitt, played by Christopher Penn, how to dance. And they're dancing to the tune of "Let's Hear It for the Boy." So there's something about that that I remember seeing it for the first time, and as somebody that can't dance, to see somebody kind of be inspired by his friend and learning how to dance, I really took to that scene, and I thought it was good the way they did the cuts. They kind of integrated like the little girls into the scene. I'm guessing it was supposed to be his nieces, Ren's nieces. How they integrated them into the scene, and you see his progression, Willard's progression from being very awkward and very rhythmically challenged, where they're doing the whole, like patty cake to get on rhythm, to he's, practicing on the bed with, listening to his Walkman, to the point where they get up and they're on the football field and they're doing a really full blown dance routine. And yeah, that was absolutely one of my favorites. I thought that was a great, great scene. And of course, let's hear it for the boy. Denise Williams playing in the background. One of the things and I love that movie, but it even struck me the first time I watched it, is if you remember in the movie, and we'll probably, you know, I'm going to talk about the scene where they go originally and you find out Willard can't dance, and his girlfriend, Sarah Jessica Parker, um, is trying to convince him to dance, and he's like, "Oh, my feet hurt," blah blah, and then he confesses to Ren that, "Hey, I can't dance." And so part of the thing with Ren, going in front of the city council to get them to allow dancing was that, okay, if I do this, Willard, you're going to have to learn how to dance. And I was always found it weird, if you go back and watch the scene at the prom. He tells Rusty, his girlfriend, Sarah Jessica Parker, "Hey, watch this," and he kind of does a little bit of moves. And then later on, when he's doing the full-on moves, they never once showed a reaction scene from Rusty. And I was always kind of just, that was one of the disappointments of the movie to me. It's like she probably suspected he couldn't dance, and he did all this presumably for her. And it really bothered me that they never cut to her to get a reaction to how well he was dancing at the prom.
Maybe it wasn't that well.
He was dancing really well. How dare you say Willard was not dancing well? How
I,
dare you?
I don't think I've actually ever seen that movie from beginning to end. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but it's definitely one of those ones that I have not sat down for a session and watched from beginning to end.
Okay, well, that needs to change. That makes me want to cry. You have no idea. That makes me want to cry, and we're gonna change that. Next time I visit you, or next time you visit me, that will be changed. Move on, sir. I'm done with you.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with the next one again. It's Michael Jackson. He was sort of a
The
big
next
dancer.
one, I'm gonna go with the next one again.
Next, well, again, Michael Jackson, I guess is poorly phrased. But so the next one again is Michael Jackson. That's probably
Oh,
the way it
okay.
should have come out the first time. And it was Billie Jean. It was his performance of Billie Jean at the Motown 25, March 25th, 1983, Pasadena Civic Auditorium. And this was the very first time that he broke out the moonwalk. And I didn't see it when it actually happened, but all I heard of the next day at school was, "Oh my God, did you see Michael Jackson? It was like he was floating. Oh my God, did you see it?" So again, one of those really key, iconic moments in the 80s was Michael Jackson coming up with this moonwalk. And of course, everybody and their brother has done that since then.
Except me, because I'm fully incapable of doing it, and my feet are heavy and I suck. Um, did he create that? I always thought there was somebody else that created it, and he kind of either choreographed it or Michael stole it, something like that.
If he did steal it, I wasn't aware of that. And I wasn't aware of that move until he, publicized it. So
Yeah, I mean, who knows? There's a lot of instances where people had done something first and somebody else made it popular. So,
true.
but you're absolutely right. You know, that moonwalk was the iconic thing. Can you moonwalk?
Poorly.
Poorly, okay. Better than me. My friend Darren can do it really well. But he does pretty much everything well, so it's kind of frustrating. But good call, good call. I don't have a lot to add to that. You're right. It's totally, one of those things where it was such a moment. And that's one of those things that doesn't happen anymore, right? As a collective, never seemed to be clued in on anything else. But back then, because of lack of choices, and especially with entertainment, something like that came on, and you had to see it live. It wasn't like you could go back and TiVo it, or put it on a DVR or whatever option, unless maybe you recorded it on VHS. But most of those things you had to see live, and so it was appointment viewing. You had to be sitting in front of that TV. So, good call. Um, I'm finally gonna get off movies and talk about a video that I really liked, and I found out some real interesting stuff about it. Cold Hearted by Paula Abdul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. You thought it was Cold Hearted Snake?
I thought it was a movie, Cold Hearted. I'm not remembering a movie
Oh, okay.
called
Well,
it.
Paula Abdul, it was actually the fifth single from Forever Your Girl. Forever Your Girl came out in 1988, but this was the fifth single and wasn't really released until June of 89. So pretty incredible. But if you remember the dance scenes, which were sexy as hell, it paid tribute to, I guess, a big inspiration of hers was Bob Fosse, the noted choreographer. And it was kind of done in the style of Bob Fosse's choreography for All That Jazz. I'm not gonna lie, Paul Abdul in the late '80s, crawling on the floor, did something for me as a young man. Did a lot for me. Very, very sexy. I guess I don't remember, I remember her wearing a hat. I also found out that was a German police officer's hat. So how she got that, I don't know. But the one thing I found out that I thought was incredibly interesting about it was the director was David Fincher. And you're probably going, "Who's David Fincher?" Because you're not a nerd like I am. I don't know. He directed a couple little known movies like Seven and The
Wow.
Social Network and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Zodiac.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, but he's directed Paul Abdul's video. I'm sure he wasn't that David Fincher yet, but it's amazing to see some of these video directors really went on to do some amazing things. And he's a perfect example. Don't ask me for who else did amazing things. I'm not ready for that question. But I do know this guy, David Fincher, is pretty amazing. Seven, an iconic movie. Um, but come on, Lou, drink to that.
It's not
Uh,
from the 80s, so I can't do it.
okay, we only do iconic. I didn't know there was a plan. But yeah, Cold Hearted Snake or Cold Hearted. Sorry, I keep wanting to call it Cold Hearted Snake, and it's not. But what a great video, sexy as hell. Very interesting, the choreography, and the Paula, of course, did it herself, and what a tribute to some of her influences. So had to include that.
That's actually a really good pick that I didn't even think of. And I remember there being a little bit of a stir when that came out because it was so suggestive. I remember, some of the dance members actually like thrusting like they were having sex and stuff, and very, very provocative. And I remember that causing a bit of a buzz as well. So that's a really good pick. I'd forgotten about that one.
Yeah, I went with the tawdry kind of stuff, which seems so tame today, right? Like you see some of the stuff, and I'm dating myself, but they're like, "Oh my God, Cold Hearted Snake," but now they sing songs about eating ass. So Go figure.
Times have changed a little.
They've changed.
All right, the next one I'm going to go with. It wasn't a huge dance scene, but it was a dance scene, so it qualifies. I made it qualify in my head anyway. Took place on September 14th, 1984, at New York City Music Hall at the first MTV Awards show, the MTV VMAs, and it was the Madonna's "Like a Virgin" performance. And again, she sort of comes out and she's singing, and she's got her whole like wedding gown attire, and then towards the end she just starts rolling all over the floor and very, very suggestive. And that was sort of when you saw this chick is going to be something different, right? She's going to be somebody that pushes envelopes. That's why I picked that, because I do remember that also sticking in my head and people talking about that.
Did do something for little Lou.
It quite may have, yes.
Might have moved. Who knows? Um, yeah, I remember seeing that. And I was wrong. I was like, this is a flash in the pan. There's no staying power in this. Like, who's going to care about this person? And a couple weeks ago, my wife actually went and saw her perform at the Forum out here. Loved the performance, by the way. Luckily for me, I was not forced to go. I bought her 2 tickets and said, "Here, take your sister. I think you guys need some quality sister time." And I got out of it, thank God. But yeah, so just I appreciate her music. I always felt like she was a better artist than even she gave herself credit for, because I think she sometimes worked too hard to be shocking when she just needed to be good, and she was good. She's great. She's a great performer, great artist, and always changing and evolving. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, but there's something to be said for that as an artist. I always felt like she just it always was off-putting to me. Like, instead of just being that fantastic artist, it always had to be like, let me push boundaries. And I don't know, it just that always stuck wrong with me, because I just felt like it made her less important as a musical artist and more of a celebrity. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I could understand that.
I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I'm going back to Paula Abdul,
Nice.
but this is not a video, because I could not stand MC Scat Cat. This is actually Paula Abdul. For those that don't remember, started off her career as a Laker girl and then was a choreographer before she became Paula Abdul superstar. So in the movie from 1987, Can't Buy Me Love, um, Patrick Dempsey, if you haven't seen the movie, and please rectify that as soon as possible, Patrick Dempsey plays a nerd who believes that if he was able to date the head cheerleader, Cindy Mancini, played by Amanda Peterson, that he would be cool. And he offers, through some mishaps, and we'll talk more about it some other time, I'm sure, he is able to rent her, essentially, or have her pretend that she's his girlfriend for a certain amount of period. I thought it was maybe it's 4 weeks, where in an effort to make him cool his senior year. Um, a scene in question, it always cracked me up. You've never seen the movie, right?
I have.
You have seen the movie. Okay, good.
Yes.
So he starts dating other girls because he's now popular, because he dated Cindy Mancini. And he's going out with this girl, and she's saying, "Oh, you're gonna go to the dance with me. I bet you're a sexy dancer." And he realizes, "Oh gosh, you can tell his expression is, I don't know how to dance." So he wakes up early to try and watch American Bandstand, kicks his brother out of the room, and turns on American Bandstand, or what he thinks is American Bandstand, to learn a dance. And he's watching the dance and he's kind of mimicking it. And his brother comes in, so he's embarrassed and he walks away. Well, he hadn't turned on American Bandstand. He had turned on like PBS, and he had watched the African Anteater Ritual. So, needless to say, he goes to the dance, and when it's time to break out his dance moves, he breaks out the African Anteater Ritual. And because he's now the cool guy, because he dated the head cheerleader, everyone else starts doing the African Anteater Ritual. The guys that he left behind, the nerd squad, immediately recognize it as the African Anteater Ritual. I thought it was a great scene. I knew actually even before doing this, I knew Paul Abdul had choreographed that scene. The director talked about how difficult it was because he was worried that that scene could potentially be offensive, right? Taking the idea of somebody's ritual from another country and making it into a pop dance kind of thing. He thought it, could be problematic. He was even thinking about that in the 80s. And he said, he had this angel and Paul Abdul who came up with it and got a group of, school kids in an auditorium to practice it. And I guess if you look closely, and I have never seen this, but I guess she is one of the dancers in the scene.
Oh,
So next
wow.
time you watch Can't Buy Me Love, look for Paula Abdul. She's not credited as a performer. She's credited as a choreographer, but she is one of the people doing the dance.
I'll
So,
have to look
and
for her.
it's such a fun idea, right? Like somebody would be doing something so offbeat and just because of their status, it would catch on and be considered something cool.
Super, super good pick. I considered that one hard for my list, but I thought you were gonna go ahead and grab it. So I thought, no,
Really?
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
All
But
right.
yeah,
I figured there
yeah,
was no way you were touching that one, so I'm kind of surprised. So you got one. You got one more for me, right?
I do. All right. Well, this scene, I can't call it my favorite dance scene, but it's or even one that's like, oh yeah, it's amazing. I do remember feeling super uncomfortable while watching it, right? And and the movie sort of sucks. The scene though is very steamy. The movie's called Perfect. It came out June 7th, 1985. Stars John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis. And the scene that I'm talking about, John Travolta's going to join a gym, and he they show him going into the gym, and they show this sort of jazzercising scene, and the guy that's giving him a tour goes, yeah, well, this is a class called Slimnastics. And so John Travolta joins it, and the next thing you see is John Travolta in these like very short shorts, and all the guys are wearing short shorts, and all the girls are wearing their skimpy leotards, and the moves that they're doing, it's like they're having sex, dude. It's absolutely like it's uncomfortable to watch it. Uh, but it burned an image in my head, and I thought, well, that's worthwhile of bringing up. So, yeah, interesting movie scene.
The funny thing is, those really short shorts for men have made a comeback.
So
Go,
wrong.
go to it. I was at the gym the other day, and a lot of guys are wearing these shorts, and I'm like, really? This is what we're wearing now? Um, and I saw a couple mullets. The mullets are coming back.
Wow.
I was like, wow. I was like, I want to ask somebody if they lost a bet or not. But, I was afraid they might try and punch me in the face or something. And yeah, I don't want to get in a fight in the gym. But yeah, those shorter shorts are definitely on the comeback. Like, the you and I kind of grew up, right? Michael Jordan was known, kind of brought it into the NBA and kind of brought in fashion the bigger shorts. And also Michigan, the players from Michigan, the Fab Five, where they got the biggest shorts possible to play basketball in, Chris Webber and that group, Juwan Howard. And now it's gone back to much shorter shorts. And sometimes I see people wearing these men wearing these shorts. They're really uncomfortable. To me, it's just like, Like, I'm scared to death. Someone's gonna come up and like put their leg on a bench or something, and I want to be staring at something I don't want to see. And then the women, the leotards or whatever, the yoga pants and that kind of stuff with the sports bras are all they wear anymore. So it's kind of the same thing. You need to go to a gym. You need to catch up on it.
Or not.
Or not. I'm gonna finish up my last one, which is probably some of the worst dancing. It's bad when I think I could probably pull it off, most of it. But it's just such an it's fun scene for me, and I had to include it. 1989's Kickboxer, John Claude Van Damme, and I know you've never seen this movie, but he's in Thailand to get trained in Muay Thai kickboxing, and his instructor takes him to a bar, and he's drinking this thing. He's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's called." He goes, "It translates to kiss of death." And he says, "Do you know how to dance? Do you know how to do American disco dance?" And he puts on this song that sounds like a complete ripoff of James Brown. It was, what was the name of it? Oh God, "Feeling So Good Today." Um, and he puts on the song, and John Claude Van Damme starts dancing, and he gets a couple girls up with him, and he does a split, and he gets up and he's shaking his butt and back into the splits, and of course his instructor kind of gets it, so these guys at the bar start attacking him while he's drunk, and he's fighting them while dancing. And it's a great scene. I've never seen the original Drunken Master by Jackie Chan. I've seen Drunken Master 2. I have to think that scene was influenced by that movie, but I can't find any verification that that's the case. But yeah, if you get a chance, please go look it up on YouTube. Kickboxer, John Claude Van Damme, his dance. I promise you, you're gonna get a hell of a laugh out of it.
I don't have much to comment on that one because you're right. I've never seen it, and it's probably a good thing they don't have much to comment on it because we're running short on time.
All right, well, go check it out. I'll send it to you, and then you won't watch it anyway, so it's good.
I'll watch it.
No, you won't. It's like the cellophane of the cell phone. I get it. Before we end this bad boy, is there anything else you want to add before we call it a
No,
night?
I was pissed off that MC Hammer actually happened in the 90s because he was going to be one that I called out. She's like January 1990. So other
Can't
than
touch
that,
this.
can't touch this. Other than that, no, I don't have
How
anything
about
else to
Vanilla
say.
Ice? Was that?
I I don't know Vanilla Ice.
Huh.
I'll have to look that up.
I think it might be the same. I was thinking for sure you'd hit Milli Vanilli.
Oh, that would have been a good one.
Girl, it's true with all the
Oh,
chest bumps.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. Missed your opportunity, Lou. As always, we appreciate you guys watching. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And Lewis, brother, as always, take us out.
Peace out.
Thank you guys.